Hi, my name is Raven, and I'm learning how to bake. Today I'll be making the Rustic apple tart from the recipe book that came with my mixer. I'm not sure if it's going to get caught by the display, but there it is. So I've already put the flour in the bowl because I had a false start and thought it was recording when it was not. So here's 2 1/4 cup of flour. Next it calls to add the salt here, and that is 3/4 of a teaspoon. So I have my teaspoon. Whoops, that's a lot of salt. Hopefully that doesn't turn out poorly. We'll see. We'll never get over the table salt. Alright, so let's go combine these in the mixer. Alright, so now I attach my bowl to my mixer, and it says to stir it for about 15 seconds, so stir. I probably could have just done that with a spoon, but I kind of want to try my new mixer doing everything I possibly can, because I've only had it for a couple days, and so the novelty hasn't worn off yet. Next, it asks me to add the shortening and butter in pieces. So let's get out the shortening first. Alright, it calls for 1/2 cup of shortening. So I'm just going to use the little measuring that comes on the side of the box here. Most butter packets have this too, which is good to know. Here in Canada, butter typically is packaged in 1 pound blocks. The shortening is also a 1 pound block, rather than a stick. So maybe one day I'll tell you about the pound of butter versus a stick debacle that happened a couple years ago, before I started learning how to bake. Let's just say no one ate my icing. Alright, so it wants me to cube the shortening into small chunks, so I'm going to do that. I'd show you over the bowl, but unfortunately my tripod doesn't bend forward. You're probably not even getting my head. I don't know what you can see in the display right now. Alright, so let's add my little cubes of shortening. Always make sure you wash your hands whenever you're adding things like this. It's really sticky and gross, and you don't want to get your hand germs in it. When I had longer hair, I used to get my hair in baking all the time because I'd forget to tie it back. And you don't want that. It's not ideal. So for butter, it calls for 2 tablespoons of butter, well-chilled or margarine, but we're not going to be using margarine. I'm not a clear. So I'm just going to measure 1/2 cup. Alright, so that's 1/2 cup here. Again, this is kind of mangled because I've been using this all week to make cake and stuff. So you can't really see anything, but there is a ruler along the top here, and I'm just going to fold it so that I can see what 1 cup of butter looks like, because I've completely cut through the cup measure on it when I wanted 1/3 of a cup. That looks like a lot, but we're going to do it. Okay, again, I'm cutting this into smaller cubes, and apparently squishing my butter all over the place. And it would be probably better if I could catch this, but it doesn't bend down. Now it wants me to stir it until the shortening and butter particles are the size of peas, so just 30 to 45 seconds. Alright, so it wants me to continue on that stir speed while I add the water 1 tablespoon at a time. So this is 5 or 6 tablespoons of cold water. So we're going to get on that now. I'm going to turn it back on and start it in the water. That was too fast. Alright, so just to stir that until it begins to hold together, which it looks like it is doing. It's all coming away with this, so we will just pull this off, because I need this beater. Yep, so the dough looks alright. I've never made pie dough before, so I'm not 100% sure what it's supposed to look like, but this looks pretty good. So, this is what my dough looks like. Not sure how clear it is on camera, but we'll see how that goes. So we're gonna divide this in half, cover it in plastic, and then chill it in the fridge for 15 minutes. Alright, so the rustic apple tart recipe calls for 1 pie crust, and the pie pastry recipe says to divide it in half. I'm going to divide it in half. I'm not 100% sure whether or not I'm going to be combining these halves later on when I start to actually assemble the tart, but I'm just going to follow it to the recipe and hope that they don't lead me astray on what I'm actually supposed to be doing. So we are going to wrap these guys in plastic wrap. I'm also just going to leave them on a plate when I put them in my fridge because we don't have a lot of fridge space right now, and I don't want them to get squished by falling debris. I could just put them downstairs in my personal fridge, but then I'd have to go downstairs, and I'm not really feeling like it right now, so they're going to go in the family fridge. Also, my fridge is a little cold. It runs colder probably than it should, and I don't know if that's going to serve the pie pastry well or not, so I'm just going to put it in a normal fridge with a normal temperature. So it's going to go in the fridge now. Alright, so we're on to the apple tart filling. I purchased these apples this morning, so it calls for 2.5 pounds, about 6 large tart green apples peeled and thinly sliced. So I have 6 large apples. I didn't weigh them because there wasn't a weight that I could find in the grocery store, but I don't think it's too much of a big deal. I chose the biggest ones I could see, but they still feel kind of small to me. So we're just going to see. I'm not great at peeling. I have a peeler here, but I tend to make myself way too much or cut through the apple in a weird way or something. So it's going to be an adventure doing this. Oh, I should get another bowl to put the peeling in. To start with, it wants me to combine the apples, lemon juice, and sugar in a bowl together. So I've gotten out a regular mixing bowl rather than my KitchenAid mixing bowl, just so that it doesn't get all mixed up, because it then wants me to combine the remaining ingredients and run them through my mixer. I've already mixed myself, but I'm not bleeding, so I guess I didn't actually do anything. Should probably be doing this away from my fingers rather than towards my fingers, but my home ec teacher never taught me any better. So I don't think we actually peeled any apples in. Technically, it was a foods and nutrition class, so we did a lot of looking at recipes and doubling them or tripling them or halving them even. So it's all just simple math and figuring out how many tablespoons are in a cup. Like later on in this recipe, or in the pie recipe, it called for 5 or 6 tablespoons of cold water, which I feel like you could simplify into a cup measurement rather than a lot of tablespoons. But I guess it's one way to get people to add things slowly by saying it's tablespoons. So you add 1 tablespoon at a time rather than say a third 3/4 cup. trying to peeling the top and the bottom, I'm just going to cut off the top and the bottom. So I'm going to skip to when all these apples are peeled and in the bowl before I add everything else, because watching me peel things while I sit here silently is probably very boring. So it'll be probably about half an hour for me. I'll tell you when, but about 1 second for you. Alright, so I'm back here. I may have been a little dramatic. It only took me about 20 minutes to cut and peel 6 large apples, but that's because I found our apple core. After cutting the first apple with my knife, I decided that I wanted to find the apple core, so I called my mom at work and she helped me find it. So that helped get everything go a lot faster, even though I'm a little bit small and so I have to jump on the apple core. Probably could have filmed that, it would have been funny, but I'm not ready to embarrass myself that badly yet. So next it wants me to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So the tablespoon is definitely around here somewhere. Alright, so the tablespoon was over by my mixer, not over here, from when I was adding water. So 2 tablespoons. This seems a little excessive. 1. 2. It's probably a lot more than 2, since I spilled it. Oh well. Next it wants granulated sugar, 1/4 cup. So I have 1/4 cup from flour. That doesn't have flour in it anymore, obviously. So we're going to toss these. I'm going to get a fork. I lied, we're getting 2 forks to toss these. Like a salad. I figure that's a safe bet. It's just apple salad. Okay, so now that the apples are all mixed up, we're just going to set this aside and switch it for the mixing bowl. And place all the remaining ingredients, except for the pie crust, obviously in this bowl. So the remaining ingredients are 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. So specifically it calls for light brown sugar, but I've been informed that there's no such thing as light brown sugar, there's just brown sugar and it's all the same. I don't know if that's true or not, so if it's wrong, blame someone else. So, it doesn't say packed tightly, so I evened the scoop, but I didn't pack it down. So we're just going to do 1/3 of a cup there. And then 1/2 a cup of flour. Then it wants 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. We always have a lot of ground cinnamon around the house because I typically mix it with sugar and put it on toast, or I'll put it on top of honey on toast. I am a fan of cinnamon. So is my dad, but he likes cinnamon sticks to put in things like eggnog or hot chocolate or something like that. So this is a 1/2 teaspoon. We made a recipe the other day that called for 2.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, and it really looked like a lot, but you couldn't taste it too much, so I guess it's okay. That goes for 1/4 cup of butter softened. So this has been out here the entire time, so for the last about half an hour it's been softening. It's about 1/2 a cup, I think, before cutting it because it's been used so much, but I'm just going to make sure by finding the measure, because again, I mentioned I've made mistakes. Alright, so it's just a little bit over 1/4 cup, probably from when we cut it slightly off before, but I am going to shave it down a little bit because I don't want to add way too much. Actually, when I put all the pieces together of the crumbled pieces, it does look alright. So we're just going to add the rest of the butter here, and hopefully it doesn't make it too buttery. So I'll keep you updated on that situation. Alright, so I'm using the same beater as before, but washed off from the pie crust. So it says to go to speed 2 until crumbly, so let's do that. Alright, so now that the mix is all crumbly, I think this is sufficiently crumbly. I've taken out the little discs. I'm just going to try it with one and see if that gets me to a 13-inch circle like it calls for. I should probably dust this with flour. I've been putting away ingredients while I'm not filming, just so that everything stays clean, but I guess I should have kept out the flour just to put this over. I think our counters are marble. We just redid the kitchen, I think, a couple years ago. And our rolling pin is also marble, so it shouldn't be a huge problem, but can never be too careful when it comes to sticking. Though I guess I do have 2 rolls to mess up with. On the pie pastry's actual recipe, it says to roll it to about 1/8 of an inch, whereas on the apple tart it just says to a 13-inch circle. So I don't know which is better. So this is not a circle. I'm too used to rolling cookie sheets rather than actual circles. So I'm just going to remold this a little. I feel like if you added both discs, it might become too thick just because you're working with double the dough and you only want it to go probably to 1/8 of an inch like it says. Maybe a little thinner, but if you have double the dough, you might not be able to get it that thin without getting it really big. I'm not sure how to measure 13 inches. I could get out a ruler. Maybe if my discs had been a little cleaner, we wouldn't be having this problem, but unfortunately I did not have that foresight. So we get a really ugly misshapen circle here. It's mostly just a blob. I'm going to go get a ruler and we're going to see if this is 13 inches or not, because I don't want it to be way too small or way too thick. I'm probably going to have to roll it more. So, alright, I've grabbed this ruler from when I was in primary school. It's one of those really cool flexi ones. So it says that's 13 inches. We don't have inches on this ruler. Just centimeters. So a centimeter is about 2.5 inches, right? So that would make it about 26, I'm just going to Google it, inches to cm. Thank you. This is what happens when you're not American and none of your rulers have inches. That's not true. Some of them do, but I can't find any right now. Alright, so it says 33.0 something. So we're just going to go with 33. That's easier. So it should be wider than my ruler, which is only 30 inches. Centimeters, obviously, sorry. And it's not. It's about the length of my ruler. So we're just going to keep that there and roll it out a little more. But it looks like it's not... I'm having a little problems with the edges breaking, but the middle itself isn't too thin, so I'm just going to roll it around the middle here to push it out to the edges a little so the edges stop breaking, and see how that goes. I've never done any serious baking before, but I have done baking with the family, with my grandparents, with my parents, and all that fun stuff, with friends. So I have some basic baking knowledge, but nothing very serious, and that's kind of what I want to do with this. Alright, so we're at about a rough, just over 33 centimeter circle. It then says to transfer this to a baking sheet. So I have a fairly small baking sheet. It says it's okay if the edges hang around the side, which is good because you're going to be folding them up over the apples in a minute. The problem, I think, is going to be pulling this off of my... even with the flour, it kind of, the edges are sticking. Alright. Awesome. Okay. Complete. It is pulled on. now we're gonna dump, oh, it's broken again. Anyway, this is fine. Transfer to baking sheet. It's okay if pastry hangs over the edges. Gently mound apples in the center of the pastry, leaving a 2-inch border of dough on all sides. So we're just going to gently mound these. This is gentle. Oh god, that's a lot of apples. No wonder it just said 2 inches. I thought that was a little excessive, but this is a lot. I don't know how this is going to work. Maybe I should have used a larger baking sheet. This is going to be a mess. Okay, ignoring all that, we're going to now sprinkle it with this. I'm just going to use my hands rather than trying to just pour it over, because it's a little sprinklier and it could get everywhere. Maybe I could have done this while I was doing the apples and then like a layer of apples and a layer of granulated sugar. That could have been cool. Again, no foresight over on this end of the camera. None. I'm just doing what the recipe tells me in the order it tells me and hoping that it goes as planned. Alright, because I'm an idiot, I just realized I didn't preheat the oven, just as I'm folding this over. So, in a minute, we're going to have to wait for that. Oh god, this looks awful. It should probably be in a pie tin. That'd probably be easier, but it's a tart, apparently, not a pie. Whatever. You know what I'm going to do, because this one side is falling, I'm going to pull a little bit out of this one and flatten it, just with my hands, and use it to spot with the edges here, because I lied about using my hands. Apparently we're going to use this. Just to cover the edge a little bit. Because it's leaking all the apple and lemon juice. Alright, so now it's actually looking held together a little bit, so I'm going to go preheat the oven. Gently press dough filling to reinforce shape. Oh god, it's like an awkward circle. It's not even, it's like a triangle. I'll show when it's done, but it's awful. It's not a circle. So we're going to go preheat the oven now, and I will see you in 30 minutes when I remove it from baking. Alright, so I've taken the camera off the tripod for a second just to confirm that the tart is a mess. This is before going in the oven. So in a moment you will see what it looks like when it comes out. See you guys later. Alright, so the apple tart has been in for about 30 minutes. Let's just check on it. Alright, so it looks alright. I'm not sure that the crust is all the way cooked though. Yeah, it's not all the way cooked. So we're going to put this back in. I'm going to say for another 5 minutes. And then I'm just going to see from there. So here's the timer. Alright, so let's wait on that. Alright, so 5 minutes are up. Let's see if it got any better. It is looking a little better around the edges, but I feel like another 5 minutes would do it well. So we're going to do that. Alright, so I think this time it's either going to be ready or I might count it as ready. So it's really able to be golden brown, which they... Okay, yeah. And now is a good color all over, in my opinion. It wants me to cool it on a wire rack, unfortunately. I don't know that I can lift it. Alright, so I've brought the pan and the wire rack really close together to see if I can do this. Oh jeez. You know, maybe greasing pans. Something that I should have thought of. Somewhere around here there's a nice big metal clipper. So we're just going to have to use this plastic one. I don't know how it expects me to move it because it's kind of by nature really floppy. But I don't want it to keep cooking on the pan. That's really hot. Okay, so I can't find the metal flipper, but I can find the other plastic flipper that's bigger. So we're going to do a bit of a thing here, I think. This may be a mistake. No, that is a mistake. Jeez. Can I get my rock under here? No, it's gonna cool in the pan. It might. Okay, the pan's really cold, so I'm not too worried about cooking longer on the pan. So I'm just gonna leave it here to cool. Hope that doesn't do anything. It says to cool it for about 10 minutes. So I'm gonna set the timer not on the stove, but on our microwave. Okay, so let's let this cool, and then I'll show you what it looks like now and cut into it. Okay, so it is cooled now. It feels cool enough, so I'm just going to bring this over here, and we're going to look at it. So, it doesn't look a lot different than before. It's a little browner on the edges, which is why I had to keep putting it back in the oven. So let's cut into it. Oh, it is just as crumbly as I suspected it would be. Cutting it into a small triangle is kind of useless. It's falling all over the place. So I'm just going to go under here with a cake lifter. Pull out a piece. So let's see how it tastes. It looks pretty good. Let's see. So the apple and topping tastes fine, which there was never really any doubt about it. It's cinnamon and brown sugar. Always delicious. I'm going to get a bit of the crust here to see if it cooked through. I feel like a judge on the Great British Bake Off. Just eating the small pieces to determine what they're like. So the crust tastes nice and cooked through. And the bottom doesn't look too burnt. So I'm counting this one as a win. Even though it's very ugly and I don't think it's going to be able to come off of the baking tray ever. Unless maybe we dump it into a pie plate later. But that's for another time. So for now it's going to live on the baking tray. Anyway, that was the rustic apple tart. If you like this video, like or comment and subscribe. Okay, have a nice day.